All right. So as I said, I will be doing Matt Kazinka. Unfortunately, had a family emergency, and so I will be doing that slides. I don't think I think I'll do them justice. I don't think I'll, I'm going to do the best I can. I've worked with Matt quite a while on Lake Street, so I'll run through them fairly quickly and give more time to Abe. Go ahead and get started, Chris. I'm not Matt Kazinka. So Matt was going to talk about the recovery in Lake Street. We really wanted him to give kind of a update on what happened, what's been going on since last year. So excited to, have these slides that he put together for us. Go ahead, Chris. So for folks that don't know, Lake Street Council is an advocate for the business community along Lake Street corridor. It's about a 5-mile corridor or so from the river to the lakes, and they provide technical assistance services. They really help with marketing and placemaking, and they really do a lot of program development. And they have, in this last year plus, have been overseeing the investment of the We Love Lake Street funds, a funding mechanism that was used to help with the rebuild. So obviously, not only were there challenges because of the civil unrest, but there was already a lot of challenge because of COVID-19 and the closing down of businesses, and just so much from that. So there were 500 plus businesses that were damaged in the corridor. 32 buildings were completely destroyed, and the damage is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. There's a grocery store. I was super duper impressed with the rapid response to the civil unrest. This small organization with a handful of staff got $11 million really, really quickly raised for the rebuild, and had to figure out how to get that money out quickly because businesses needed to fix windows, etc., concerned about continued looting and other things that might happen. And how do you do that in an equitable way, etc. I served on one of the review committees to help look at applications, and it was pretty impressive how quickly they pulled this together. Really incredible staff people. So they did invest $6 million quickly into 350 businesses. Grants were of different sizes. I think the highest grant at that point was $25,000, but the average grant was $17,000. And when they were doing it in the application, they asked questions, and you could see that many of the businesses were BIPOC owned, so Black, Indigenous, or people of color businesses that were the recipients. And if you live along Lake Street, you know that for a fact because you see that. I think that wasn't necessarily the story that was told, and I don't think a lot of people across the country watching knew that. Many of those businesses, the majority of them, have reopened, so that is the good news. So they've had to grow their staff because all of a sudden they're handling a lot of money. They're really trying to service this community that was hit by both the pandemic and the civil unrest. So they've added new staff, really looking to expand the capacity to serve businesses in the multiple languages that are spoken along the corridor. And the WLLS's We Love Lake Street Oversight Committee to ensure that that spending aligns with that community vision. They did some really good community work and visioning to make sure that they were staying true to that. They've done some really great creative placemaking. A lot of great artistry came out of this, tragedy. We saw some beautiful art making that happened, and there's been a couple different efforts to save our boards, if people have heard of that, with all of the boards that went up to board the buildings, a lot of it got painted, a lot of beautiful murals. There's been some efforts to really save some of that creative art that's happened. So they've had this creative healing, a lot of money invested across projects, public art and mural grants. It's, you know, and there's been murals added since all of that. It's a beautiful display of artwork if you drive up and down the corridor. Go ahead. So, you know, they're really focusing on community-led development, you know, having the community really lead this. They have been, you know, raising money for the businesses and developers along Lake Street to purchase the buildings and rehome those damaged buildings. Some of the businesses have relocated temporarily as their buildings are being built, and they've committed, you know, almost $1 million across 12 projects to, you know, acquire some of those buildings. The Coliseum building is a really interesting story. A group called formerly Seward Redesign, I think they're just called Redesign now, just signed a deal recently in the last month or so to purchase the Coliseum building. A lot of that was damaged inside, but it's a historic building and they're trying to retrofit it. There's some really cool businesses, BIPOC businesses, including one of our speakers from last year, Dunor Distillery, is working with them to, you know, be involved in actually two of our speakers from last year, because also Alicia Belton from UPD Architects is also going to be one of the tenants. So there's a lot of connection to some of the work, and that's really, yeah, so there's some good things that are happening, and they're just so committed to the community and that vision. This pre-development fund really trying to help with those early stage plans of development. I mean, some of these buildings are going to take a long time to rebuild. The business owners didn't necessarily own the building, so there's property owners and you know, really trying to coordinate some of that work. So a lot of money going towards that. And they've got some money from Minnesota Main Street Economic Revitalization Program to really help prepare some of those projects. Go ahead. Next, I should say next. So energy is part of that recovery. I mean, that was the focus last year, and I think it was important to kind of have the context of just generally on the recovery, but then a little bit more focus on the energy piece of it. You know, Great Plains Institute and Metro CERT has been working with Lake Street for 5, 6, 7, I can't even count anymore, years on collaborating to provide energy assistance, you know, clean energy tools and resources to the small businesses along the corridor to help improve the efficiency, upgrade equipment to more efficient products. And so we've got a long history of doing that. So there they are, you know, they helped 200 plus businesses get those assessments. After the uprising, you know, it was clear that a bunch of the businesses needed to replace damaged equipment, and we saw an opportunity to make sure that they knew about, you know, increased, you know, efficiency appliances that they could replace it with, and also that there were some special rebates and things that they could apply for. You know, really trying to make sure, you know, when you build a building, it lasts for 100 years, that there was an opportunity to ensure that smart and sustainable energy design were kind of baked in from the beginning, that, you know, we have this opportunity, if we're going to build it, let's build it right, energy efficient, resilient, you know, there's a lot of things that come along with that. So, you know, really trying to make sure that that's part of the conversation, and Lake Street Council's done a really good job of putting that. And I think had it not been for their years of work on energy efficiency, that might have been an oversight, but they really thought about it and they put it, you know, right square front in their application so that they can make sure people knew. And again, those recovery rebates and the Minneapolis cost share program, which is, you'll hear more about later, is an incredible incentive and tool for funding for some of these projects. So just he wanted to do a little partner spotlight here for Energysmart. CERT has worked with Energysmart for a long time. Energysmart is a program of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce WasteWise Foundation, and they provide no-cost assessments to businesses with CenterPoint and Xcel Energy utility accounts. And that really helps the business to get a free assessment to understand what kinds of equipment or upgrades can they make, and give them the numbers. How much it will cost? What are the rebates? What are the things that they count on? What does that bottom line look like? What's the return on investment? How long will it take them to pay that back? And so, their services include they can analyze bills, because sometimes you'll look at a bill and say, this doesn't look right. You might not know, but they're experts, so they might understand and recognize that. They can do these, either they were doing virtual site assessments during COVID, and then got more and more to on-site in the last 6 to 9 months. They do a report, and they keep going, ongoing implementation and assistance, helping those businesses. So great partner that Energysmart has been with the council. Next. So here's some just numbers. I won't read the numbers to you, but they help businesses a lot. And we did work directly with Energysmart, trying to do outreach, trying to make sure that the businesses knew what was going on. And Kevin Zickert, I'm just going to call out to Kevin Zickert from Energysmart, who actually has a Lake Street Council email to make it even easier for businesses to reach out to. And so you can see that, like these upgrades, created some real value for the businesses, in both kind of the money for the direct rebates and the cumulative kind of annual savings over time. Those are real dollars. Next. So looking to the future, there's a real desire to grow community ownership. I think there was a really big concern with all the buildings gone and the property owners that it would be really easy to sell to owners that didn't live either in the area, in the city, in the state, and there was a real desire to have community ownership and really creating that wealth within those business owners and in the community, including, making sure that there's affordable spaces, and, really an emphasis on that local control and local business. They're focused on ensuring that climate and energy are among core principles in those community-led developments, and they're really trying to help businesses see the advantage of having, doing those energy efficient improvements that will keep their operating costs smaller as they move forward, more kind of resilient business model. Next. And then I added a slide because I couldn't help myself. One of the projects, so that picture that you see is, it's from a few months ago, I guess April 21. So before, that's the Hiawatha Lake Shopping Center, right at Hiawatha Lake. You can see the light rail. If you take that light rail, before it was fully rebuilt, it was burned down over several days in late May. And I don't know if you can see it, but right behind it with the green roof and such and the solar panels, that's actually the building, the Greenway building that the Great Plains Institute lives in, if you will. So close to home for sure. And I was actually there the morning of May 29th when some of the final flames were taking down much of the building. And one of the businesses in the building was a business called HD Laundry, a laundromat. It had been a laundromat for a while, but the owner had just taken over in December of 2019, and literally 6 months later, the building burned down. And Energysmart worked with them to help them get a new system for ozone into their laundry system that was going to save oodles and oodles of energy and money, like to the tune of $36,000 a year on energy expenses, which, like, I had to double check the numbers like 4 times. I think our former communications person, because we went back and forth, I was like, no, it's 3,600. No, it's 36,000. No, it's 36,000. Because I couldn't believe that it was 36,000. And it is 36,000. And so we did a highlight and did a case study about that, and really tried to encourage businesses to take advantage of the recovery rebates. CenterPoint Energy and Xcel Energy had rebates, had and have rebates. Xcel Energy had double rebates for general equipment, and CenterPoint had triple. And they were supposed to expire in July 1st, but they extended them again until December 31st. So those rebates are still good if folks apply for them by the end of the year. So if you know any businesses that are still looking to do some efficiency upgrades, those are still there. But we're really excited. And the laundry, Matt, just reopened this week, and I was in there last week checking it out, and he was very, very excited about opening up his business again. And so I just wanted to highlight that because I thought that was a real making lemonade out of lemons, if you can, in that situation. So I think that's the last slide. I think what I'm going to do is now I'm going to turn it over to Abe, my friend Abe, who I met. I think Peter Lindstrom from our team worked with Abe, getting us information about the payphone. Abe, that's from the interview. You and I sitting across from each other, me taking a picture of you while we chatted, and what a great conversation. Super, great to talk to you, and we have a story about Abe's journey, and we can share that in the follow-up with folks. But really happy to have Abe here as a business owner and a building owner along Lake Street to tell his story and talk about, kind of his journey through all of this. So Abe, I'm going to just turn it over to you. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you thank you, Diane. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for all of you guys for inviting me to share my story today and to be part of this great work in South Minneapolis on Lake Street. Some of the picture that you're showing was a little bit emotional. So I wanted to try to kind of forget about it, what just happened in 2020, and move on. So I wanted to share with you guys a gratitude for the people that really helped me to share the difficulties that I faced as a small minority-owned business, trying to develop a property that would inclusive for the BIPOC people in the area. Some of you may know I have been in the area over 30 years as a furniture store owners, also open up my own soccer team for the kids under the 18, which means also main business. So after my furniture business was my main kind of bread and butter business for quite some time. After a decade and a half of renting of a store, seeing businesses owners are in the renters that are at the mercy of the large real estate broker that have no personal relationship with them and see them only as a number, have no relationship with them as a human, level begin. I began my project as a furniture store, and later on changed it to sort of something that relates to my community. This is actually brought up after the civil unrest, and I wanted to call it Abyssinia Center. Most of you, as you know, that my origin came in from Ethiopia. So if you guys would like to know more about Abyssinia, I would probably, ask you guys to Google it or Wikipedia, whatever you guys need to do. It has a lot meaning towards what Abyssinia means. So I call my building a 3-story building right now, Abyssinia Cultural Center. I'm still in the process of getting my sign. We're right now almost 15, 16 months after George Floyd. I'm still trying to get my fund to get together, and hopefully I'll have my sign put in on my building. I want to have something meaning to it, to the building. Since the beginning of this project, I had a support of my neighborhood communities. Also, it was hard to find a bank that believed in our neighborhood. We tried to do this project with Sunrise Bank as a new market tax credit, which dragged me along for 3 to 4 years, only to stop me working with me and leave me with open contracts and a space that needed to be developed while having no resources. We were finally able to get an amazing bank called Community Resource Bank out of St. Paul or Roseville, Minnesota, that exceeded our expectations in their professionalism, their care for the community. It was just amazing. Since then, I have completed my building and added solar panels that produce 43.12 kilowatts for the tenants' energy needed. I also plan on creating a green wall to improve efficiency and sustainability in the building. One of the first things that I was certain about adding to my building, even in the early stage, was that my building would use a renewable power sources, uses efficiency material. I set this goal to do my part to limit the environment, disparities that minorities areas face, to help with the lack of resources and lack of awareness of availability of renewable energy in our neighborhood. I had always planned for the kids that live within my area and go to, and the one they go to the daycares. We have about, I would say about 5 to 15 daycares within a mile range of in South Minneapolis. And so trying to build that sustainability in the area, this was no longer possible due to that COVID, what we have in 2020, remaining effect of the civil unrest. I still hope to do it when everything is back to normal. However, that might look the future. Right now with the current situation, being all this COVID and civil unrest is not being stable for the daycares. Hopefully I'll try to get those kids to have them as a field trip to kind of see it and touch it. It has a lot of meaning to it for this daycares. Most of this daycares are serve a BIPOC, minority, people of a color. I want them to be the future of our communities, because I want to have them like to come in as a field trip to go into my rooftop, touch it, not only seeing it on TV, not only seeing it on any kinds of program. I want them to touch it, to feel it, what exactly solar means. And it has a lot of sense to me, and it has a lot of meaning to me. That's what I learned. I like by touching it, by seeing things, not just by visualizing it. So that would happen, and I'm very optimistic. I think Lake Street is going to go back on their feet. We are rebuilding Lake Street. I was the first one after the civil unrest. I'm back live, build my building, and I'm back and running a business. And I'm optimistic we're going to get this daycare back again. Hopefully we'll be over with this COVID. So those kids that I have, my plan or my dream, they could be able to come into a third floor. After being affected with this COVID, still dealing with the issue that is brought up, the civil unrest that has affected me like a dozen of business in Lake Street. Sorry, guys. I didn't know that I was going to be this emotional when we start talking about what just happened 2020. Anyway, after the May 28th murder of George Floyd, the shock waves created a community that resulted in the civil unrest was expected to move to June 1st. So my project got delayed. An eager new business unable to start operation, and with my hard work and dreams shattered along with my building. This added 6 months to my repair of the buildings. Suddenly, some of the business were unable to continue with us and had to move on. And so they moved into other neighborhoods. I hope that we could move on forward from COVID and the youth can see the potential of renewable energy for this area to visit my building. The community can also support each other by sharing the story of effectiveness of a renewable energy in communities, and making sure we ask landlords, government officials to provide the best energy source of the city of our neighborhood. Thank you, Diane, for everyone else, and Metro CERT for helping me share my story. I hope everyone else to see great articles Diane wrote about my building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here and sharing your story with me. When we first met and talked, I thought maybe we would talk for about a half an hour, and I think an hour and a half later, I walked out and had a ticket on my car because I didn't think I would be there that long. Actually, my car was towed. And, you know, what I loved during our conversation, Abe, was, you originally planned on having solar on your building, and you wanted to have community organizations in your building. And after the murder of George Floyd, you had a different vision about the kids in your neighborhood and what you wanted them to see and do. And you committed your third floor space to training. You wanted training for solar training for the youth in your community, and just, how you came, as a person and as a building owner and a business owner, you were affected so much by that, but you kept thinking about how you could hold up your community and what you could do and how you could give back. And that really touched my heart when we talked. And just you're just the most gregarious, connected person ever. I think we were talking and like 4 different people came in and you're introducing me to somebody, we're talking to somebody, called somebody on the phone and put them on speaker so we could talk, and making connections, and everything that you did was just such a beautiful thing for you to think about, the youth in your community and how to engage them, and what does that workforce look like? How can, I wonder if you want to, people can put some questions in the chat, but you could talk a little bit more about kind of that dream and vision came to you about, that the, solar training for youth, and that you have space in this building and how you could give it back. And then you also helped organize, is it ACIL, the group of folks along the community. I mean, you're just so invested in the community there, and it was just so impressive to talk to you. Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Yes, I could. I wanted to say this, Diane. I came from a very underserved country. Coming out to the US, I remember that when I was a kid, it's not fortunate for everyone to have a light in your house when you're doing your homework or anything in that. So when the solar came in, I always thought about something that would help our community, especially the kids. And most of the kids around here are immigrants. And they came from different areas: Somalians, Ethiopians, Sudan, from Hispanics, from a lot of different backgrounds. Having these kids to prepare them for the future, not only getting a clean energy, but also having not to rely on electricity. Your bill is so high, and I think the U.S., or especially Minneapolis, gave me this opportunity to have my dream come true. Is just unbearable. It is unbearable, and I think for us to take this advantage of is just considering it as a sort of a hobby. This is not a hobby. This is something that everyone should do it in their own house. Everyone who has businesses, I would really advise them. I have another project coming up with a group of people. The first thing that I propose is a solar. So that's also in 4th and Lake Street. That would host more youth communities, a youth building. So I think solar is a go-go, and I got help from the city of Minneapolis, being in the green area, and I appreciate it for that. I also used a PACE financing, if I may share with you guys too. PACE is a great sources for people who cannot have the funding available, or the bank saying they could not do it for them. You could go with PACE financing. They have a 10 or 20, 15 years of financing that would just add it to your property tax. It is just a great, great things to have in my building. And I wish I could get the Zoom and could show you guys on the roof of the building, but I was gonna take a picture. I thought Dan might have to share this, but if you guys have any question, I'm more than happy to answer, but I'm more focused with the youth that our future, that we need to see what a solar energy means. And I'm working with the youth group right now on my 3rd floor to have a solar, or I call it incubator, youth incubator. So mainly I'm gonna focus with solar, so they could be our future, to teach them about a solar.
Absolutely. So one thing I'll say about that, you should apply for a seed grant. We should talk, because I think that'd be a great seed grant. And secondly, 2 different questions are basically like, how can CERT and this community, kind of continue to support your vision, your projects? Are there other things that we can do to support you?
I think, Diane, I don't know if I mentioned to you also, I've been also elected to be in the leadership with the McKnight Foundation, building the whole Lake Street. It's good to be there, being the first, a minority person. I'm trying to understand that to kind of, Lake Street is, for, I don't know if most of you guys doesn't know the place. I've been here for the last 30 years. I live, I eat, I spend my money in Lake Street. That's kind of things that I believe. And I also advise our city officials, communities, people to kind of support. If they live in the community, they need to spend their money in our own communities, then we'll have a better place to have. So going back to your question, what I want to see CERT or doing anything in rebuilding, I've been proposing about solar, because when we're rebuilding this, our Lake Street or our beautiful Lake Street, or I call it a country that you could travel with no passport, right? You hear Spanish, you hear European, you hear all languages. It is a beautiful place. And if for some of you guys who say that Lake Street always been bad, I promise you guys, come back. It's a beautiful place where you could walk around. So to have this rebuilding that we're going right now, my proposal is solar. So I want to have more solar on our own building to share. So we'll be, not only we come back so fast, we'll shine in also with all solar, with the green space and renewable energy. And that's what I want to see the future of Lake Street or Minnesota in general. So
that's great. So I will tell you, and to a handful of folks on the call know that I've been working with the Lake Street Council and NBC and others to put in a proposal for some more solar along Lake Street, West Broadway, and University, all the damaged corridors. So we're really excited, and we'll be engaging you to talk about what you see as barriers as we figure out what is a better model to engage these commercial business owners on solar. So your dream might be coming. So then a couple other questions about people wanting to know more about what sorts of questions do young people ask you about solar? What have you taken any youth to the roof yet? What was their reaction? And people are really curious about the youth.
I gotta learn how to unmute this stuff. So we did have a few kids just right around the summertime that I was able to show them and to see what it looks like. But my dream is bigger than that. It's not just for a few kids. I want to reach out pretty much here, South Lake Street, Minneapolis, to have more kids. School just started right now. Daycare's up and running. We haven't gotten to the extent where I need to get in, especially with the daycare kids. The third floor is in a process. I did have my permit with the city of Minneapolis to start a project on the third floor. So this project is going to be a youth incubator. Mainly is going to be focused with the solar energy. I do have a lot of kids that are coming up and asking more, and I think it's going to be even more once we're going to have this posting it every other week or things like that to have the kids coming up. So right now I'm trying to get those kids. If a school is not something good for you, I don't want you guys to be out in the street. Come, let me train you guys, or let's train you guys to be a solar energy, to sell a solar panel. If you don't know how to fix it, I'm sure you know how to sell it. And I wanted to engage them. So this is our future, and this is something we need to focus. And I really, really want to have impact on the future of the kids. Now I'm getting with this youth project. I purposely want to have just about the solar energy, Diane. But what I'm getting right now is I have a couple of kids. They're going to be joining me. One just created an app called for cryptocurrency. The other one is working with a stock exchange. So my mind is going crazy, because it means in a happy way, how am I going to try to get this funding for those kids to have them to be our future? Now we're going to have a youth, incubator. It's not just a talk. When I say something, I do it. It might take me 1 year, might take me 10 years, just like this project. It took me a long time, but I did it. And so the future of our kids is becoming more abroad right now, because they want to be a solar, they want to be incubating for a stock, incubating for cryptocurrency. I mean, I'm getting entertained. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. If anybody who's listening today and has any access and wanted to participate, be part of it. That's what I'm asking.
Thank you. Yeah, we should definitely talk. I think you should apply for a seed grant to help with the solar youth training. I think that would be something my review committee would be really excited to fund. And I do, whenever we're done, I do have the picture of you on the rooftop with your solar that I'll if when we stop doing this, before we get back to the screen, I'll show my picture so people can see it. It was super fun. I think it was March or April when I was there. But it's a beautiful, beautiful solar array, and the solar installer is now one of your tenants in your building. And that's really cool too.
Yes.
Any other questions that people I just tell you that the chat is full of people so grateful and thankful to you for sharing your story. And you know, it's obvious to everybody, it comes from your heart. You are this community. I mean, one of the other things, you know, when I was talking, you know, I think when we were sitting there, one of these organizations, the African Immigrants Lake Council that you helped create, you know, one of the guys came in, was trying to get some information, trying to get it out. I mean, you're everywhere. You're connected to community in so many different ways. I'm pretty sure people asked you to run for mayor. I'm pretty sure I'm not lying about that. So somebody else had a question. Do you have any lessons learned that you would share with other businesses about doing solar on their rooftop?
I do. Thank you so much. The kind of word that you comes up from yours, I really appreciate it. You know, I'm not ready for any kinds of politics right now. The politics for me is Lake Street. When we rebuild the Lake Street, when we all happy and back to our life, that's what I want. And I criticize politicians a lot because I want them to be more skin to the game. I criticize the councils or mayors. I tell them to spend their credit card in my neighborhood, or if they belong in any Southwest Minneapolis, it doesn't matter. I want them to know me by my name. I want them to know all of the business people and by their name. I think that means a huge impact to our communities. Not only to run for office, just to be, I don't know if there's a reward for it, but that's the thing that for me. So for me, I'm already busy. So I wouldn't, something that I cannot give to my committee, I'm not gonna lie just for the name of it. Money is not gonna change me. So what I would like to share with everyone else is, I think, you know, with the help, this is a great state. And I thank my God and I thank my mom for sending me here. Minnesota has been just great. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, has been the most, you know, we do have some social disparities and things like that. For people who work very hard, like me, I came here from 1991 from from Ethiopia. I landed to Morris, Minnesota, whereas I don't know how I ended up being there, but it's a long story. And for coming up from, from Ethiopia, from a very, equatorial, weather to Minnesota is just totally, opposite. So what I would like to say is, Minnesotans are, not only good, they open up with the arms and accepted me. And I think I owe Minnesota a lot. And I consider myself right now, I'm Minnesotans, even though I might speak with a different funny accent, but we all have somewhere, somewhat our ancestor came from another country. But, I might be that generation, but Minnesota, I owe to Minnesota a lot. I think it's a great people, great community. I always, advise my community. I don't like to use race, and I had this morning with the McKnight Foundation. We need to stop calling East African. We need to call people from countries. We need to be Minnesotans. We should be a proud Minnesotans, and it's a great place to be here. And for us now to go in with this solar energy that you're talking about, one of my kids that is going to be part of it is when they come in, I want them to think as Minnesotans. I don't want them to think that, hey, you know what, I'm Black, hey, I'm brown, I'm this. That needs to stop. That needs to stop because it starts with me. If I keep complaining about that, I'm not going to get anywhere. So what we need to do is we need to come as a community, all of us together. We need to come in. I don't like to be seen called Democrats, Republican, none of that stuff. It doesn't know. Just like we need to come as a community, as one people, one together, and see what we could make differences in our community. I think solar energy is a green energy, and everybody should be proud. And it offers a lot, especially for this. You're investing in energy efficiency, renewable energy, climate, protection program. Is a very important way for the state, local government to provide a variety, benefits for the low-income communities. I've reached with another nonprofit organization. She wanted to collaborate for the low-income family house if they cannot pay their Excel bill, can solar be an option? I thought it was amazing. So not only just putting it on top of our roof, anybody could do for the people, affordable housing, anything in that matter. People, I mean, you can make this thing is worth it. And if you really ask the people came from other countries, they do have an answer, because I was one of them. When you had to pay your bills, no lights. So how are you going to be home? And you have certain area would have light today, and then they only just go by, different sections. But now you have a renewable energy, so we could take this renewable energy and also give back where we came from, to our country where we came, and be advocate. And I'd like to be one day to advocate where I came from, and be proud of it. But I think solar should not be forgettable, and it's clean energy, and there's nothing more. I mean, if anybody has a question, I'm more than happy also to share with you guys. If you guys are, I don't know how many people, I see about 47 or 46 people. If some of you guys are investor here, if you guys are developer or a future to build, more than happy to share with you guys my performa. I want to share quick what I got from this things, sort of a breakdown. I got a 4293 kilowatts installation. I also got a federal tax, credit that should not be ignored. That's about 26%, guys. And this is very, very useful. And you could do it in your own home. You don't have to own a business, and you can use that. And I think that I'm sure you could find good resources where people could tap it. The federal tax credit, that's 100%, a bonus depreciation. How are you going to beat that? Things like this, utility incentive with Excel. I get $3,500 from Excel alone. Solar, I mean, this is a win-win situation. I don't want to act like a salesperson, because I do sell furniture at the daytime now. I'm going to be more advocate for solar. So if anybody has more question, I'm more than happy to answer.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. That's the time we went over a few minutes, but I didn't want to stop. You were on a roll. I didn't want to stop you. So thank you so much. You're an incredible part of the community that I live and work in, and our Minneapolis community, our Minnesota community, and there is something funny about coming from Ethiopia and ending up in Morris, Minnesota for school. It's an interesting story, but thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. We'll be in touch about seed grants and about solar. We will, as part of the follow-up, I'll send the story I wrote about Abe and his work this summer. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show this picture that I have. If I can find it, where did it go? Uh-oh. No, I can't get it up. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And now you'll be able to see, there's the picture of Abe on top of his roof with all of the solar panels. So many solar panels. And it's right at Westlake and Grand. And he has a furniture store downstairs. If you're looking for some furniture, you can find it on Lake Street. All right. Well, thank you so much, Abe. Again, appreciate it, your time and being here, and we'll be in touch. And stick around if you're able to. And let's go ahead and Chris, let's bring the slides back up, and let's introduce the steering committee panel for the lightning round.